So I'm sure y'all seen the rumors floating around in the internet about how Bungie is reportedly in talks with Gearbox to remake Borderlands 1 as a live service. And yes, it seems like that someone from 4chan is just doing a good old-fashioned troll sesh. But there were a lot of people that had some very unhappy thoughts about it. Now, what's good, everyone? It's Word here, and to be fair, I got good. I was stoked for a second. So today, it's gonna be me checking in with you guys because I feel like I'm from another goddamn multiverse after seeing how vehemently were Killer 6 and Jolts are just against it. But they have been at this game much longer than I have, so maybe I got a blind spot that I don't even know about. Buckle your seatbelts, ladies and gentlemen, pull yourself a brewski and let's yap about it. And now look, I just mentioned that it seems nothing more than a wild rumor, but I wanted to investigate the pros and the cons, and then you can let me know how you feel about it in the comments. So what on earth would happen if Borderlands were a live service game? Because with the Destiny 2 marathon fiasco and Bungie, or rather Sony, fumbling the ball extremely hard, I cannot see any of the top dogs, whether that's Randy or other CEOs, not seeing this as an opportunity to just multiply their total addressable market. Yes, there are still a lot of people playing Destiny 2, but that veneer will quickly turn yellow as the time passes because of the lack of updates. So I think that the live service looter shooters will have a massive vacuum, or is a massive vacuum in there right now already. But when I say live service, I'm gonna model this conversation after Destiny 2, The First Descendant, Warframe, and Division 2. In my mind, those are the blueprint that we would be wanna go in after. I don't really want to dwell too deep into what functions they should take or not take from each of the titles because, for example, Warframe and TFD has a very specific module crafting endgame that the entire mission statement revolves around. This would clearly be too much of a change for Borderlands. It would just got the entire essence of what the franchise is all about. But on the other hand, they also have anywhere between 2 to 10 minutes worth of bursts of little multiplayer sessions. That one for me is a one-to-one translation to something like a drill site, an order bunker, if you have to clear every single room. Then, of course, you have the other side of the coin, which is going to be the insanely deep crafting system of the Division 2 with the extracting, modifying, improving weapon parts, and then just having the freedom to make your half-god role even better. Not only that, but you can literally set what is exactly that you want to farm from each of the activities and zones on the map. That would absolutely be godlike for Borderlands 4 if it was implemented as is. Imagine if you could set Carcadia Burns to drop mainly heavy ordnances, or Fatefield to just drop weapons with underbarrels. But then we're going into the takedown, and all we want to get is guns with Jacob's parts. That is some crazy good flexibility that we do not have today, and I don't know why would we not want to. And if you want flexibility, to always have this fucker entertaining you, well, hopefully, make sure to click the like, hit the subscribe, and then ring that motherfucking bell so hard that it resonates. And if you want to become my glorious friend, then consider joining as a member to support the channel. Love you 3000. But clearly the point here is that there are features within the games that I can't imagine anyone would tell me that they are not gonna mix and match if they had the freedom to do so. That would be fucking nonsense. Actually, scratch that out. I could see that from a point of view of an absolute purist that just does not want Borderlands to change ever. But to that, and I'm gonna have to give a caveat before I dig a little deeper, I don't want the franchise to lose its essence. But I'm worried about it that from a P&L perspective, profit and loss statement, it is just making less and less of a sense because the masses are not interested in what the purist of the franchise wants. Maybe not Wonderlands 2, maybe not even Borderlands 5. But what if Borderlands 6 just never gets made because it simply doesn't have any mass appeal? I think that evolution is necessary for survival. So that's the holistic angle that I'm coming from. And the point is not to turn the game into a slop, but to have a constant enough changes where it slowly grows into a mammoth of a title. Unironically, Warframe is the best example of that, where it started a niche, it remained on course, and now it is the biggest looter shooter that is out there. Now on the other side of this equation, obviously there would have to be something in it for the suits. If we want them to fund money, the development teams would have to constantly work on it. Their entire cash flow model would have to change. And yeah, macro transactions would need to be added into the game. Now, funnily enough, I am not anti-season pass until it's not blatantly obvious that it is just a fucking pay-to-win mechanic. I think the genie is out of the bottle now. The Pandora's box is open. The cat's out of the bag. However you want to call it, there is ain't no stopping this model now. That coupled with the predatory rise of all the mobile gaming, it's getting entire generations just hooked on spending on games over and over again. And I appreciate that this sounds a little bit of a nihilistic view from my perspective, but I mean, I'll agree to that, that if we're all gonna go on a strike, count me the fuck in, but until then, I just don't see it going away ever. So the point being that skins, battle passes, seasonal passes, whatever the hell you want to call it, or you can call it, or you can think of, it would be in there. But given that we're paying for bounty packs and story DLCs already, I don't really see the difference. To me, it's already pseudo live service because you pay for it in the super deluxe and then you don't get it right away, or you buy it with the release. That is just the difference between capex or opex, or capital expenditure, aka upfront, or operating expenditure, aka you're spending throughout your life cycle with the game. The only thing that changes is that Gearbox doesn't have to fulfill our expectations of a constantly changing environment. So these 2 points, getting a deeper game for something that would rely on us supporting it more financially, is going to be on top of everyone's pros and cons list. These are going to be subjective by nature. I don't know what the right or wrong answer is here, and I don't think that anyone can tell you de facto. This is one of those cases where every single one of you folks are gonna have to think for themselves in this aspect, because it is your time and your money, and ain't nobody gonna give either of that back to you. Look, I mean, I saw a video about live services as an industry practice from Youngie that I could not agree more with. I'm gonna link it down in the description. He talks about the industry that got us hooked on live service, or rather, he talks about that the industry got us hooked on live service, and now our appetite is so insatiable that we just consume everything that they put out within a matter of days, even if it was meant for months. This gets highlighted even more with the rise of the content creation. I know it's ironic coming from this fucker on his high horse, but so the issue gets amplified by the culture, and we as a society of gamers just end up complaining and then remaining eternally unsatiated. But look, before I just leave it in there, I want to again dig a level deeper with how much Borderlands would have to actually change from what it is today to fit the bill. And I'm talking about Borderlands 4, right? Because there is a very valid argument that Borderlands is just an RPG or an RPG light that is more akin to Skyrim or its cursed fucking spawns like Starfield, where you have options in how you want to play it, but you're effectively just doing it for yourself and for the journey. So right now, I think build depth-wise, meaning roles and responsibilities, hold your horses. I'm talking about enough build variety there, not, or rather, I'm not talking about the build variety within the specific aspect. I'm talking about its skeleton. There is enough diversity to match the other titles. If you squint your eyes just enough and get Amon tanking and Harlow supporting, you pretty much have a full group. So running up against raid bosses, world bosses, encounters, that would work. Builds are a check. Then content-wise, you clearly have enough between overworld activities, drill sites, bunkers, world spawns, endgame boss runs. You got cities, main zones, where you could have a social hub interacting with other people. You definitely have the skeleton of a good live service game. Not exactly enough as of today, but check, they know how to make them. But the engine and the way that the game plays, that's where we have a massive gap. First of all, save editing would obviously have to go. That is absolutely antithetical to live service, because if you make your own gear outside of the game, you ain't got no fucking reason to come back. And like I was saying this to Rotor in my comment section as well, that the issue that I see is that if everyone would save edit, the game would be dead because people would just be insanely bored because there's nothing to do. And if no one would save edit, then the absolute scientist like himself could not do what they do, since the game just flat out does not give you accurate information. People would get pissed off and it would just fizzle out. There is this almost like a cursed symbiotic relationship that apparently has been going on for decades. I was just never really paying attention to it. So not only that would have to go, but also Gearbox would need to unfuck the engine so that the one-shot builds don't exist that easily. And I'm not saying that you cannot have big old bangers, but I think we can be open about the fact that some talents are absolutely fucking ludicrous while others are just utterly useless. This, let's call it a realignment, is both onerous and demanding. I don't think that it aligns with the perceived vision of the developers and the company direction at all. The problem is that leaving the game and the franchise as is, it is not built to keep people for thousands of hours, and clearly they need to make money to be able to bankroll any of the future titles. But I mean, look, this particular yapping session, I wanted to record specifically to break out of my own little echo chamber just a little bit. I have my opinions, I ain't hiding them. I personally would want Borderlands to be a live service. I don't fully understand why George and K6 are against it because they would be making out like fucking bandits if I'm honest. I assume that they know that because they're not stupid, so that has to be something else that I'm missing out, and you may know. And if you do, holla at your boy down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, hit that cheeky little bell so that YouTube can just slide into your DM saying, "What up, homie? Another worthy banger is out, you better go check it out." And of course, a huge thanks to the channel members for supporting. If you want to become a GigaChat yourself, consider joining with the link in the pinned comment. But as always, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.